Welcome back, everyone. We're back on YouTube and LinkedIn with another exciting episode of the Top Innovator Series. This is where we dive into proven leadership ideas and game changing strategies to help improve our organizations. And of course, we are also talking to the brilliant minds behind all of these ideas. With us today is Jason Scott. Jason is the CISO of Sectigo, a certificate lifecycle management company. Before that, he held other senior tech leadership roles for organizations including the US Army Cyber Command, Capgemini, and Chevron. And today, we're thrilled to have him with us. Jason, it's an absolute pleasure to have you in the conversation here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's fantastic.
Jason, the topic is leadership. You're clearly successful in your journey. When you think about your own journey, when you reflect on the years that you've developed as a leader, what do you think are some of the ingredients behind your success? What do you think got you to where you are?
A couple things come to mind. Drive,
Mhm.
um, moral compass, and just trying. I've always tried to. One thing is to make wherever I'm at, whatever position I'm in, try and do a good job, but really leave it better than when I found it. And I've
Okay.
always found, no matter what level, whether it's a junior, new leadership position, senior position, if you leave something better than the way you found it, and you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, you know, that will generally get you in the right direction of where you need to be,
Mhm.
et cetera. Right. I've never really worried about, I need this position, that position to do whatever it is. Things, because the way that I operate and the way that I look at things and just doing a good job, the right positions have always kind of just fallen into place.
Mhm.
And I've been very fortunate over the years. Specifically spending over 25 years in the U.S. Army. Lots of opportunities to lead and excel and fail. Right, failure
Yep.
is a strong part of leadership. Right,
Yep.
and the Army trains you very early on. Fail early, fail soon. Right, fail when it doesn't count. Right,
Yeah,
so
that's a good motto. There were several things that you said there about the ingredients, and one really intrigued me because I don't think I've ever have ever heard anyone say it like that, and that's moral compass.
mhm.
Now, people talk about integrity, but I really don't think anyone has mentioned the word moral in that context yet. Do you mind saying a bit more about that?
Sure. So there's a kind of a philosophy in the military. You obviously you give orders, you take orders. Everybody has a boss, right? So you may not like an order, you may not agree with something, but as long as it's not illegal, immoral,
Okay.
you know, or unjust, I mean, you follow it out. You take care of it. You do the order, right? So when you're giving orders, you have to look at that as well, right? Is this
Mm.
illegal, immoral? Should we be doing this, right? Just take those things into account. It's not just you have to get A, B, and C done, right? How are you doing A, B, and C, right? So I think the moral part of that is okay. Look, you need to look inside yourself and say, is this the right thing to do, right? So
Got
kind of
it.
look. That's just
Yep.
kind of one of the ways that I kind of look at things, and
Yep.
I believe it's a strong influence on what the Army's kind of ingrains in you early on.
Hmm.
So,
Yep. I imagine, and I've not been in the military, but I imagine that's easier in the military because there is a shared value context, or it's closer than overall. Is that fair to say?
so yeah, so having recently, I retired about 2 years ago. So, and since I've been here, um, it is a very different dichotomy of the way an organization functions, right? In the military, things are very straightforward, directives, go execute A, B, C, D, or whatever. Here, or in the corporate world, it's more you have to get a lot of buy-in. You have to not coerce, but you've got to massage relationships. You've got to learn how to um, get people to do what you want them to do, right? Even though they
Hmm.
may not want to, right? So it's a very, very different dichotomy of cultures that are involved, right? You have the same cultures in the military, but you don't have people don't really talk back as much, right? And
Right,
it's
right.
on the corporate side, I may tell you to do something, and they're like, no, I don't want to do that, right? I'm like, okay. So
I like it. Yeah. Let me take a different look at your journey and look at some advisors that you've had. I'm sure you had trusted advisors, you had people who were following your path or mentors. What was some great advice that you got from them? Some advice that maybe even sticks with you today and you pull it out when needed because it was so good.
a couple things, and the first one was I kind of what I've already mentioned, right?
Okay.
It's the looking inward when you're making decisions, and because this, especially in the military, things affect other people's lives, right? So decisions affect lives in the military. So you just look at that moral compass piece. So that's I think that's one thing that's kind of not every mentor's kind of talked about that, but something they've said is like leave the place better than where you found it. That is just stuck with me. I was told that, and early on, as a brand new lieutenant by by a by one of my commanders. I'm like, oh my goodness, that is like holy Moses. For me, it was just inspirational. Like, just it doesn't matter. You may have the worst environment, right, to be in. Just make it better. Leave it better than the way you found it, right?
Yep.
So just I think that's probably the number one thing.
Got it.
The second thing is take care of people, right?
Hmm.
You you can't you can't undervalue the value of people and what they can do to make the place better, make the thing better, make it better, a better place to work, a better place to be, right? So I think if you kind of those two top things there, it kind of sets it for me. So
Yep. Yep. Can you think of some advice that you got where at the time you thought this makes no sense, this is stupid, this is a bad idea, and later when you think back of it, when you look back at it, you think, "Well, maybe there was something to it. Maybe I should have listened more," or you see something different about the advice that you got there.
to be honest, I think it's the collaboration piece, which was a very. I was told, as a young officer, like you need to learn how to collaborate. I'm like, collaborate. This is the military. Who's collaborating, right? But it's that the ability to communicate and collaborate kind of you kind of equate that to it's communication. Learn to communicate. It you got to be able to communicate at multiple levels. For example, if you have someone that has a background, they may have come from, I'm from Texas. Very easily relate to someone from Texas. Maybe not relate to somebody as much from New York, right? So you gotta find those individualities to work with other people. You have to learn what drives other people. Why are they here? Why are they showing up every day? Or so that when something's off, right away, right? So I still use that to this day on my teams now. I know a little bit about every single person on my team down to the junior analyst. So I know when something's off, right? I think that is a very valuable piece to understand as a leader. You've got to know your people. One, you have to know what motivates them in order to get them to follow your strategy, right? But the other is you need to understand how to take care of those folks. So.
Yeah, got it. Again, on the theme of changes or changing perspective, when you think back on your journey, what was a moment where you were surprised about how something turned out? I'm thinking of any kind of leadership setting. You might have had an idea going in, you had an idea this would play out this way, or I'm pretty sure this is where we're going to land here, and it turned out different.
Oh my goodness, I'm sure everything turns out different than what you think.
What
Nothing ever, you know. I
is
think
it?
I
The
don't know if
first
Pat
casualty
can.
is the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I don't know if Patton coined the phrase, but it was no plan survives first contact, right? And it,
Right,
it
right, right.
is so true. And I'm going to relate this one to my current job.
Mhm.
So this is obviously my first CISO role, and going in, I probably had a different vision of what it was going to be like when I got here. Um, Thinking it's going to be a lot of technical stuff. It's like, okay, let's develop a strategy. Let's execute that strategy. In reality, I spend more time on budget than I do anything else,
Ah,
right? And it's
okay.
the vein of it's just the vein of my existence, right? It is awful having to fight for budget, right? It's budget season right now. So the last
Right.
I told my guys this morning we had a huddle on. I'm in budget hell right now. Um, so it's just you know it's it's just I think every job I've ever been in is always different coming in than what you think it's going to be, right? I'll give you another example. So back when I was a captain, when I was a company commander, I was a IT signal officer. The Army, in its infinite wisdom, decided, you know what, you could be the commanding officer of a logistics unit. I'm like, okay, I don't even know about logistics, right? So how am I going to do this? And going in, I had all this basically how disastrous this is going to be. It's going to be just an utterly failure because I don't know anything about logistics. Well, go back to my previous points, apply the key strategies, take care of people, make the place better than where you found it. And it'll be a fantastic opportunity. I mean,
Hmm.
I may not have known all the logistics about what was going on, but it's about the people, making it a better place, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that answer your question or not, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
It sounds like that's the big theme, right? That's
yeah,
really the
yeah,
the the toolkit that can be brought to any kind of leadership
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I appreciate um the aha moment with the budget, and it sounds like that's how I interpret it is the component of the whole enterprise leadership that is maybe a bit of the surprise there. Instead of just the focus on one particular role, really being a leader for the whole organization.
Yeah, oh, for sure. It's
Mm.
yeah, like here's kind of another kind of I guess quasi example of the dichotomy between military and corporate world, right? In in the in military, you have policy and procedures and all these things that everybody just follows, right? In the corporate world, you could have policies and procedures, but people don't just necessarily follow them because they're written down, right? So there again. It comes back to communication, collaboration. Getting to understand the culture and how to get people to change inside of a culture, right? So, uh, I
Yep.
think that's another area that's just different than what I thought it was going to be.
Mm. Got it. That makes sense. Now, we talked about your past. I'd like to take a look at where you are today. And again, not a question about organizations or roles or projects or so, still about your leadership journey. When you look at where you are today and look for areas where you can level up, where you can grow, where you feel there is more that I can do here, there is more where I can develop. What's an area that you would focus on?
So coming into the position, because I haven't been very technical, hands-on in quite a while, right? So I spent a significant amount of time coming into this role, kind of getting spun up on more of the technology side, on the cybersecurity side, right? I've managed lots of teams, lots of organizations, but I just felt I was a
Hmm.
little weak on current technology kind of thing. Getting here, I had such a strong team. It was a small team when I got here. I had such a strong team that I didn't really need that extra oomph in my toolkit, right? So what I probably didn't have was the understanding that I really needed to dig into the business side of things to understand how the company makes money and then track those back to how do we protect that environment, right? Now, you may get to the same conclusion that you need EDR, you need SIM, you need
Hmm.
all these tools, but understanding the core function of a business was probably something that I probably didn't think about
Yep.
enough, right? So it obviously it didn't take long. You brief the board one time and you learn real quick what's important. So,
Yep.
but you get quick learner on that one. You get a couple after your board meeting, and you have a couple calls from the leadership saying, "Hey, we need to refocus." Right. So
Change is needed then.
that's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah.
right. You learn real quick, or you're gone, basically, right? So
True, true. Yeah.
yeah.
Is there a tool that you keep going back to in terms of a leadership tool? Is there something that you feel this is your go-to tool if nothing else works, or it's the default approach if things don't go the way as planned?
Hire smart people.
Okay,
Um, Never be the smartest person in the room, at least on your team,
okay.
right? You should always hire people smarter than you, right? And then that's kind of like I don't know if it's a tool, but the other thing is core communication. Um, Externally is probably more important than internal. I
Mm,
am
yeah,
the Army has ingrained me how to build teams and build esprit de corps and build functioning teams for 25 years. What it didn't really teach me until a little later in the career was you can't conquer the world by yourself, right? You've got to have money, you've got to have all these other things that your teams to enable your team, right? So it is learning how to facilitate with finance, facilitate with HR, facilitate with the business functions, development. You can't operate in a vacuum, right? I can't just be behind the curtain creating policy and here's the hammer and
and
you violate the
right,
policy,
yeah,
whatever. So it's those little nuanced things. It's like
yeah,
communication.
yeah.
It's the key.
Got it. Let's take a peek into the future now. And let's imagine we were to have this conversation again in 3 years, 5 years. What do you think might have changed about leadership then? What do you think is different if we were to talk about leadership in a few years?
I th- that's an interesting topic. I do think that AI is going to have an effect on how we manage people and processes. Um, just because people are using AI in every aspect of their
Right,
life, right?
right.
It's everywhere now. I mean,
Yep,
we just
sure.
just we were able. One of our developers was able to use an AI bot to fix some processing speed on a server in about 10 seconds
Mm,
versus you know 3 days for
yeah,
an engineer to figure things out, right? So you got to figure out how to let people, you know, innovate in ways that are different than today. I just, I don't think, AI is so new. We don't know really where it's going to go or
yeah,
how it's gonna affect us. But I think it's going to fundamentally change the way that people function and operate because they're using it every day. Um, oh my goodness, my kids like on their phone is like everything.
right,
AI is
right,
everywhere.
right.
So I think as you know, maybe not 3 years, but 5, 8 years from now, as these younger folks are kind of moving up, it's gonna be a cultural shift in how you have to manage people.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
the way it is today, how some of the younger the younger people in the workforce can't function without their phone more than 38 seconds. I think it's going to be something kind of along those lines for the next phase, right? They can't get by with it without AI.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Now I know
so
we
how do
don't
you
know
how
the
do you
future.
how do you have your own thought if everything you think is coming from AI? Or I mean, it's weird. It's kind of hard to fathom, to be honest. So
I know we don't know the future, obviously, right? So the
yeah.
crystal ball is very, very murky. But nonetheless, what do you think might be different in leadership? So I get it, AI will influence the technology, phones, devices.
Yeah,
But what will be
I
different
think
about how we lead people?
I don't know that leadership itself will change. I mean,
Okay.
at the core function of leadership, right, is understanding people
Hmm.
so that you can get them to execute a strategy
Hmm.
in some kind of way, right? So I think at the core level, that's not going to change. I think there's pieces in the middle that we're going to have to understand and maybe do things differently. But at the core, you still got to understand every single person, what motivates them, and then you got to figure out, okay, This motivates them. So how do we get them to do X, Y, and Z, to accomplish our strategy? So I don't know that leadership itself changes at the core level. I mean, I think there's probably nuances of how we lead people might change, but the core function of leadership, I don't know
Yep.
that you really can change that until we
Can't change
start
it.
putting chips in. Maybe we'll start putting the chips in up here, the computerized chips. That may change things, right? Because you can
Yeah.
push a button and force them to do something.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Got it. Let me ask you a last question, Jason, and then we're going to land the plane. If you could change something about how people in technology lead at the moment, right? Let's just vastly generalize for a moment. And let's say we have a magic wand and we could change one thing about how people in technology typically exercise their leadership. What would you change?
I seen it. It seems to me like folks that have grown up in technology and have never veered out and done anything other than technology look at things in a glass or a tube filled with technology, right? That technology is the answer to everything, right? I think as technology leaders, we need to back up, understand it's not just about technology. The technology is the tool to get to driving your organization for improvement, process improvement, driving growth, revenue, all these things that are important as you grow and develop. As a junior leader, yeah, you may see everything in black and white terms. This technology, my security engineers, their entire life is my EDR tool or my SIM tool or whatever, right? But as you grow and develop into a leader, you got to understand there's other things out there. And some people can never really make that adjustment. It's always about the technology, right? Technology is a tool, um, to accomplish whatever it is, that your organization does, right? Because again, you need to drive revenue, drive growth. Um, it's just a tool, and I think it can be a difficult situation or process for some people to step out of the technology and say, it's not all about the technology. That's just how you get there.
Yeah.
So,
So get a bit more distance, right? And place it into a
yeah.
bigger context. Got it. Jason, thank you so much. Been an absolute pleasure having you in the conversation today. Thank you.
So real quick before we end, I do
Yeah.
have a PSA that I do like to talk about that not many folks are talking about. Um, for those that don't know, obviously we're a certificate authority and we manage, we deal with in certificates. So the lifespan of certificates, your SSL type certificates are reducing, right? Right now it's like 200 days, for validity. It's going to 47 days in 2029, which
Hmm.
which could be a significant
Mhm.
level of effort for folks that do it manually, right? So the key there is find an automation tool to manage your certificates. For large organizations, you're talking hundreds of thousands of certificates. So you're talking of hundreds, maybe even thousands man hours or person hours, excuse
Wow.
me,
Okay.
to handle this. So it's not many people are talking about it, but it will cause outages when certificates start expiring. So just try and put that out there. So look, take a look at your certificate management policy.
Got it.
So,
And say the name of your company again, where people should take a look.
Sectigo.
Got it.
Yeah, Sectigo.
Awesome. Jason, thank you.
Thank you very much. This is fantastic.
Awesome. To everyone else out there, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and join us again for our next episode of the Top Innovator Series. And most importantly, make sure to keep your brain cells active.